Morena, I'm Fleur Sullivan and I'm sitting in this beautiful little fishing village that I discovered probably when I was about 17 or so, and in my life I knew I would come here to live because it had this whole beautiful atmosphere of the ocean and the simple life, and you watch the fishermen come in on their boats and unload and talking, and to me it just seemed the most ideal way to live. I'd grown up on the Waitaki River, and it was a fairly feudal system that we had like 3 or 4 generations when I was young, and I was used to that life. And as I moved on and did earn my living in different ways, but always by providing food or sustenance for people, because it's what I can do, and a way to make my living in a way that makes me feel good and happy, and something I know I can do. So I've managed to do that for all my life, and then I got some cancer, which wasn't a huge issue at the time, but the length of time I had the chemotherapy was once a week for a year. So I knew I had to make a different, not so much pressure, and I thought this is the time for me to shift to this dream that I'd had all those years to live in this small fishing village. And the name of the village is Moeraki, and that means, in Te Reo, a place to rest by day. And I didn't know that till after I came here. But it all fits in. But when I looked at the village, I realised that the fishing boats were disappearing, the way of life was disappearing. And when I researched Moeraki, it's always looked to the ocean, not the plough, for its living. And everything that I thought would never have to change was changing. And in the 20 years that I've been here, it's disappearing. And I've tried to talk to the fishermen, make them understand that they don't have to lose this way of life. But it was pretty difficult. But how I thought I could, well, when I got invited on the fishing boats, and when I was on their boats, I saw what was thrown over, and they explained to me that's going back into the food chain. But I wasn't so much worried about the fish. Have got a great big ocean, and where the people live, there's only so much patch for them to live on. And I thought, well, the fish can probably look after themselves a bit better. And I wanted to save the world by not wasting any fish. And they humoured me and brought all their bits and pieces into me, and I thought of all the ways I could use it. But it's so funny even thinking about it all. But I did expect that it would work, but it wasn't as easy as I thought. So I ended up having to make myself a restaurant. And then I found it very difficult for the fishermen to play my game and give me fish. Then I began to understand the whole system that tries to stop you getting fresh fish off a boat and supporting the people in the village that earn their living this way. Obviously, from receiving tubs of fish bodies filleted fish, tubs of heads, frames, skin, and making beautiful, beautiful fish stock. I've come a long way in the 20 years of understanding the whole dynamics of this small village. To be fair, the fishermen weren't proud of themselves, and I had to make a restaurant, which I didn't really want to accomplish what I needed to do, to get people to be able to get good food from what was going overboard with just the additives of vegetables and shellfish. And part of my pride in what I've done is, if you had a group of fishermen sitting in here at my bar, and people would say, "What do you guys do?" They would just look up from their beer and say, I'm a fisherman." You knew they were a fisherman because they smelt of BO, diesel, and fish. But after a year or so, people would say to them, "What do you guys do?" And when I heard one guy say, "I fish for Fleur," that was one of the most profound statements I'd heard, and I knew that I had done something really worthwhile when I heard that statement. But now, those guys are reduced to 3 or 4 guys. What they're doing has become, they believe, uneconomical, because they fish with a quota that comes from the big companies. And the big companies, these guys are too few and too small now for the companies to want to come down and pick up their fish. And they have taken that quota away, which I've got my quota, which they catch mine. But this village and other villages can support themselves if we just all get the idea of how to do it. People want to come and buy fish off me, and I'm too busy to sell them fish, and I don't have enough fish to sell them. But it doesn't mean that other people can't come here and do it properly. There's a huge interest in fresh fish now. And it's funny, from when I started, my mother said to me, "People will never go away into that village just to eat fish." But they do. They come in hundreds a day. But my mum, if she went to heaven, no, I think she probably did. She'll know that now. We don't have so many tourists now since COVID, but when we were getting tourists every single day, and we're so fortunate, we do get everybody on the move is a tourist coming, because a tourist to our village. And most people from overseas say, "We thought we would find more restaurants like this in New Zealand. Why aren't these simple little restaurants when you've got such a big long coastline and people can catch fish? Why is it so hard to find places like mine?" So we have to ask. And I found out when I tried to do it, it's not encouraged at all. And nothing was easy. And I'm used to solving problems, and no matter how many difficulties were put in my way, I solved the problem. And I had the time, of course, and I'm so pleased I did. but and I'm pleased it worked, and I'm pleased to spread so much, probably hope into people about what you can do. So I would like people to investigate for themselves and look into what's going wrong. I would like to leave it to you to seriously look into what is happening to our fish, where it's all going, how it's being caught, why are our little villages, why can't people lead this life in so many ways, but I'm only talking about my village and my fishing industry. But I think once you get into it, we all own in some way. We own what's out there in the ocean. It's ours as well to nurture and to understand why it should be so hard when you've got a family to feed them on fresh fish, sustainable fish, economical fish for you to buy. If we all understood it better, maybe things would have to change.